Today's show is brought to you by KegConnection.com. Purchase all of your homebrewing and draft beer equipment with everyday low pricing and everyday flat rate shipping at KegConnection.com. Also, join the free Brewers Club Rewards program at KegConnection.com and start earning and spending points with every purchase. Go to KegConnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. KegConnection.com, promo code HHH.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Gotta unmute myself. Welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit hombrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page. Now, though, you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I am joined by the Director of Operations at homebrewsupply.com, Mr. Laddit Joe Ermis. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the show this week.
Yeah, of course, man. Always a fun time, and thanks for having me.
I appreciate you as always. I like that. You are in the studio there at headquarters. The studios are very, I don't know if it's a fitting term. I learned in 2019 you can just call things whatever you want.
Right.
That doesn't matter. But I do appreciate you. Is it weird being in there and not upstairs with all the hustle and bustle?
No, it's a little more peaceful down here, so I think it makes more sense than trying to not only lug everything up, but just kind of get away from that for a minute. So.
Yeah, that was the idea with it. I'm glad it's working out. At the beginning, it's fitting for me that not only did my soundboard screw up, but my mic and all that. It was a nice intro for me, but it's fitting only because audio listeners did not see the little bump we had at the beginning before the episode, but I wanted to just take a brief moment to address Todd and James were supposed to be in Germany right now for the annual CM Becker trip to do planning with the fatherland and do what they do over there every year. But unfortunately, very last minute, Todd's son, who we haven't talked about a whole lot on the show because Todd likes to keep his family personal, so we don't talk about his kids at all. I'm the only weirdo that really talks about their kids way too much on air. But his son passed away unexpectedly on Monday night. And so it's been real heavy lately. His son, Kyle, I've known, ever since I've been working for Todd. It's going on, 11 plus years. And such a good kid. And it's really heartbreaking. And I know Todd and Liz would greatly appreciate all the thoughts and prayers y'all could send their way. Because like I said, I don't know the saying, Joe. It's like a parent should never have to bury their child, right? I think that's basically the saying. And
that's got to be one of the hardest things to go through is having to put one of your children in the grave. I mean, goodness gracious, I feel for him, and much love to Todd and Liz and their kids and their whole family. So
exactly, because Todd and I specifically, we joke a lot with each other. We're at that level, I think, where he has said terrible, terrible things to me I wouldn't repeat, and vice versa. But it's out of love because that's how Todd is. Todd and Liz have been a second family to a lot of us, and specifically like me, like Liz, genuinely one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And when I got the news super, super late that evening. And I just, I was just floored. And there's never easy. It's never easy to try to find words right now. But like I said, Todd and Liz would greatly appreciate all the thoughts and prayers and positivity sent their way, because I can't imagine. It's going to take a while, I'm sure, to bounce back from that. So, and like I said, it's anytime we've ever had any seriousness or heaviness on the show, I don't deal with it well because I just can't. Like I don't like I get awkward.
Yeah, it's just a difficult thing.
It's
in
just
general.
a super difficult thing, but we do want Todd and Liz to know we love them so much, sincerely, and that our thoughts are with them. With that being said, it is difficult to get a show going, but we do have content and stuff for this week. And again, I can't stress enough, sir, how you were in the last minute as well to fill in, because even if they were in Germany, it turns out I didn't plan well for this week. So I appreciate you being on the ball.
Anytime, man. I have a blast on here. So
well, that's what I'm saying. And when you say anytime, I always think, oh, it's like when I tell people, yeah, call me anytime, we'll hang out.
And then you smile as you watch the phone
exactly
ring.
Android has this screen call screening feature now, and that's what I've been enjoying doing, because I don't have to just ignore phone calls. I can send it to the screener, and it reads it out like the person you are calling. And people are like, please just pick up your phone.
I've had that with a customer I called. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was some kind of commercial business or something. I was like, well, I guess I'll just leave a message.
Yeah, people, it transcripts out what they're saying, or you can actually listen in, and it's very funny, the awkwardness of people. People don't like talking to robots.
No.
So if anything, it keeps my voicemail box empty because no one leaves a message because they're so pissed that a robot's talking to them. I love it. Thank you, Google. Some small talk before we go in. People listening, this is actually the time they're listening right now. This is a very last minute surprise. Rhizome pre-orders, I was told, reopen back up. What's up with that?
Yeah. So, I went to the original deadline to have the order was to be placed on March 1st. The supplier or the farmer that we're getting them from reached out to me on that day and said, hey, go ahead and shoot me over the count that you have now, but the ground is still harder than we expected it to be. So he did extend it a week longer. So yeah, if you're missed out and think you're out of the game, you still have some time to get your orders in if you're wanting to do some rhizomes this year. I think we're going to reach back out to him on this coming Friday, and see how it is. And, if that's one of the things with these is like weather and the nature always plays a factor to where it's, if the ground's too hard for them to harvest, they have to wait a little while. So sometimes we play a little bit by ear towards the end of this deadline. Again, yeah, if you're looking to get some rhizomes to grow this year, get them in now, because they're not going to be available for much longer.
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, because I know I did actually get emails from people for the Tech Connection side of things asking like, oh, are y'all going to have some, because I forgot the pre-order. And then I just followed up with them telling them, hey, the pre-orders are back open, because there is a likelihood that there will be some they might be able to order, but we're talking like very limited quantities.
Yeah, I mean, right, we have a minimum that we have to order of each, and if we don't hit that minimum in sales, then we'll have to order a little bit extra of each, and I think we're going to plan on and adding a little bit of cushion to our numbers, so in case we have some small puny ones that we don't feel right about sending out, we'll have some replacements. So we may, and it just all kind of depends on how these pre-sales end up going these last few days. We may have extras left over that we end up just marking down and selling, trying to get rid of. So keep an eye out for that too, if you do end up missing that window of pre-order.
That is the beauty of things that are finite like this, because it does us no good if we were to hold on to rhizomes and just let them die. So there is a chance, like you said, there is a chance where it'll be like, hey, who wants these? We have to get rid of them. And there are people out there that are that kind of consumer. God bless them. Like I know people like that personally.
That's my mom.
Yeah, is it real? Like
she's just a thrift shopper through and through.
The extreme couponer, or not that way?
Not so much as coupons as hitting. If she sees a Goodwill's like, oh well, we got to stop and see. Who knows what they may have in there.
Yeah, my parents are. I think the fancy word for garage sale is estate sale. That's what it is. They're estate sellers. They're sailors. They go all across Austin and buy other people's junk and take it back to their property, which is a great segue.
And it's just fun too. I mean, just kind of seeing what, digging through stuff. And even if, you don't find something you need, it's still fun time.
The majority of my office that's covered by this green screen is stuff I don't need, my friend. Speaking of my father, he compliments to you, sir, again for that IPA recipe. We just added the last edition of hops.
Okay.
And
Nice.
When we get back from the services this weekend, we're going to
Keg it up.
keg it up. Yeah.
Nice.
We are
Very cool.
excited. We tasted it. We had a little bit of a taste recently, just to get numbers and whatever. And numbers are good. Taste is great.
Nice.
My father is very excited, as am I. I think sometimes I blend in with whomever I'm around, and I think people have gotten the notion that I don't like IPAs because of how much we talk about it when James and Todd.
Sure.
But I do. I enjoy them. Maybe not the hazy ones, but this one that you made up, I don't know. I forget if it's close to the ocarina recipe or what it's close to. But
yeah, it's kind of it's just a pretty typical West Coast style IPA. It's not going to be super duper hazy by any means.
Right.
And it's, but it's this fairly citrus forward hop bill. So I
Yes.
think it'll turn out good for you. And yeah, I know I get that way too sometimes. And that may be why I am such a hop head, is because I got introduced to craft beer around people who were interested in hops. And so it's like, well, we kind of group thunk ourselves into like being dedicated to that style. But it's what I enjoy drinking. It's got the flavor that I enjoy, but I get that way too. It's easy to kind of either bash or love on something if you're around people that are doing it. So.
Yeah, totally. But this one is, I have a good feeling about it. It was funny. My pop and I were noticing and wondering who comes up with hop names. Like, I want to be in that meeting because some of the hop names are just like Vit Secret is. It was one that was part of that where he was like, why is it called that? I said, Dad, why? Do you not listen to our podcast? I don't know most things. Like, what are you talking about?
They've got a newer one that's coming out. That's came out pretty recently. It's hard to. I've been trying to get a hold of some, but it's sold out everywhere. It's a Zappa. It's named after Frank Zappa.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a full blown Neo Mexicanas strain. I'm interested to try it. So we'll see. How it goes.
Just by name alone, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That is right up your alley. Also, real quick before we get into the questions, so I brought some to the table. Frank, who is a longtime listener, you were there at HomebrewCon last year. We met him.
Yeah.
Frank came to Austin and hit me up through Instagram. So we met up, and it's our birthday, man. He brought me back. I should go back to the fridge and grab all the beer to show you. He brought back a good chunk of San Diego beer.
Nice.
I'm bringing it up for my next trip coming up.
Good to have friends in low places.
It is good to have friends in low places. I was like, what brought you to Austin? Him and his wife and a couple of other friends came by and enjoyed the nightlife and the day life. I took him to Hops and Grain.
Nice.
I say took them. I met them there. We actually went Dutch. No one took anyone anywhere. I'm a very equal opportunist. No, they were actually already drinking when I got there because they got there a little early. They went to Franklin's. I don't know if you've been there yet.
No, I haven't. And it's like, I don't know if I really want to go sit and wait in that line, but I would love to try that barbecue one day.
One day. That's how I am. I've been there. I've had it a few times, and it is really good, but I'm more lazy than I am hungry. And that line is crazy. Yeah. Frank, I think, sat in that line for like 3 hours, and they were like, yeah, they got the food they wanted.
See, I did that at Hop Dotty once, there was like an hour and a half wait.
Ooh.
But the nice thing was that they would come out, the line was wrapped around the side of the building, but they would come out and take beer orders. So they'd serve you beer while you're waiting in line. So it made it, more enjoyable.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then when you get people a little inebriated, they don't complain as much.
So, the food tastes better.
The food tastes better. They're in a better mood. Those guys, they know what they're on to. That's why any meeting I have with Todd, I bring in a little six pack first. He forgets why he was mad at me. He laughs at my jokes, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, Frank, thank you so much for sending that. Probably next week's episode, we'll be able to give a real review or overview of the beer because he brought a good chunk of, and he was very considerate, again, because of how maybe cliche or stereotypical each one of us mainstays on the show are. He was like, oh, Josh, I have a stout for you that go good with the cigar. He brought I think it was a sour, Joe, and IPAs. and then some German beers for Todd and Jane.
Nice.
So that's why I'm saying I'm gonna bring it up, because it's basically like, okay, this one's for you, Joe, and this one's a lager. This one's for you. You know, I like
How
people considerate. I know.
Yeah.
I know. We need to have him on the show. He is a home brewer. That'd be a good thing.
Speaking of considerate, though, man, I don't know about this ball. Like, I feel like I'm always kind of either falling, like shifting. Like...
People who are listening, you see me bouncing. So he's in my office there at headquarters. Because my doctor said it helped me with my posture, I use an exercise ball for my chairs.
Is it because you're constantly having to change what
That's what they say. For me, the only reason I've kept it for so long is because, look, this is fun. Bouncing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I had thought yesterday when we were talking about doing the podcast. I thought, like, it's going to be sweet on that ball. Now I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, my core, you would think, would be a lot stronger than it really is. It's not. Joe, because I have you, my friend, we are going to take a couple questions for this week's episode, starting with question number 1 came from Rick, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Rick wrote, new brewer and listener here. I've recently finished my second batch and I'm quickly falling down the rabbit hole. I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment and I'm currently brewing 1-gallon batches, but I'm moving up to 2.5 gallons soon. I think it's a great volume to brew at that will allow me to experiment, get a wider variety, and not be too upset if a batch goes downhill. My question is it as simple as cutting the grain bill, hop additions, yeast, etc. of a 5-gallon recipe in half and using a brew in a bag calculator to find out how much water to use? Second question, could I even cut out the 5-gallon recipe water volume in half, or should I just rely on a brew in a bag calculator? Thank you so much. I enjoy the show and want to thank you for spreading your knowledge to all us beginners. Joe, have you even brewed small batches before, or smaller than 5-gallon?
Yeah, I've done some 1-gallon batches. When we launched a 1-gallon kit and a handful of recipes to go with that a number of years ago, and they didn't do real well. I mean, we sold some, but they were a nightmare to make because you're weighing out 4 different grains at like a couple grams each, and and it's just the hops, you start going to less than an ounce per addition, so it's like it really kind of gets a little bit tedious with 1-gallon recipes as far as packing a lot of them up. But in attempts for that, we did test out a bunch of 1-gallon batches, and that's basically what we did. Was we scaled it down in ratio to the 5-gallon batch. So that's what I get this question a lot from customers, if that works. And for me, it has. Usually I've done it in the reverse direction. Typically I'm most comfortable in making recipes, designing recipes in 5 gallons. But if I want to brew a 10 or 15 gallon batch, I'll multiply it by 2 or 3. And the same should in theory work, going down. So you can do half it if you're doing a 2.5 gallon batch, and you should, you shouldn't notice much difference there. And I would think the same would work with the water. I would have to imagine. But what you could do, Rick, is divide the water recommendation in half, and then also do the brew in a bag calculator and kind of see where you're at. And I bet you it'll be pretty close, to what the half of the recommended water would be. Now, I just want to emphasize, all of this being said, I am not a pro brewer, and this is not a recommendation to brew a 5-gallon batch as a pilot batch and go up to a 6-barrel system. Like, so with that kind of exponential growth of a batch size, there may be calculations or considerations that you do have to factor in that I'm not super versed in. So again, this is my personal experience with moving from 5 to 10 or down to 1. It does work fairly well to just go ahead and multiply or divide that ingredient count. In
your opinion, is this the time where I can recommend our good friends at Brewer's Friend? Like for would that be a good reason to use that software, is building out recipes of any size, such as, I mean, like you said, I too, I've never built my own recipe ever, but I imagine what he means by brewing a bag calculator is something like software like this, right, or Beersmith or whatever.
That's actually, it's a great thing to bring up. Brewer's Friend is where I've been doing all my recipe design lately, and they do have a scale feature on there where you can scale from a 5-gallon to 15 or to 10, and I'm pretty sure it just multiplies
It does the math for you though to be safe.
Yes. So yeah, if you're doing 10 pounds of pale ale for your 5-gallon pale ale, and you go to a 10-gallon batch, it's going to give you 20 pounds. I'm pretty sure I think that's how it's calculated. It just multiplies and divides depending on the batch size. Now, I haven't played around on there as much with going down, so I don't know if that is part of the scaling feature, if you can scale down to like 2.5 and 1 gallon batches, but I would think you could.
And if you can't, the good thing is, maybe it's because we know her personally. Lorena, who's been on the show, very receptive to feedback and for things that you want in future updates of the software. She's not the programmer, but she's definitely the face of it all. And I know she's very receptive to where if it wasn't a feature, because I don't know either, because we've never had the need to do that, to try. In fact, Todd, whenever I got that cooler brew system and I told him we're still going to brew 5-gallon batches, he got mad at me. He got legitimately mad because he was like, it's not extra work. It's not extra time. It's just better, extra beer. Like, why the hell are you?
I mean, it's a little bit extra work and time, but not much in comparison to having double the amount of beer at the end.
Yeah, that was his point to it exactly. Where, and I've and now having the experience of it with my dad, realized it wasn't as big a headache or intimidating thing as I thought it would be. Now, we have yet, knock on wood, we have yet to pitch a batch, have to throw one out. And I think 10 gallons would be a lot more tears shed if I had to do that versus a 2-gallon or 2.5.
I mean, anytime it doesn't feel good. And I don't think it happens as common as a lot of people think. And really I've had to do it. And it's really batches that I've either just got lazy and didn't want to, just got lazy with, or, it's
oxidation
really, I mean, I don't think I've ever like brewed a batch, kegged it, and then just didn't like it enough to dump it out of the keg. It's like, it's usually at least drinkable.
Yes, and drinkable can be relative depending on how temperamental I am.
Or how many you've drank so far.
That's right. We'll save that batch for after we drink the good stuff. Rick, thank you so much for submitting your question.
Yeah, good question, Rick.
Joe, I think the last time I ever did a voicemail call for the episode was you were on it as well. You were on the episode. So the next question comes from Olivia, who called in at our voicemail hotline at 325-305-6107. And I'm going to play that message for us right now.
Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm from Boise, Idaho. I really love listening to you guys' show. I think it's really great. Something that I've always personally wanted to know when brewing, because I've been doing it for about a year now, is what is the difference between using fresh hops versus just the pellet form? Does it really make a difference? Is it worth it in order to get organic hops, or does it honestly not matter and the pellet form is totally okay? I would really love to hear you guys' input on this. Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, Joe?
Yeah, it's another really good question. And it's, I guess if you go back 10 years ago, you'd probably find a lot of brewers say like whole leaf or loose leaf pellets are the only way to go to get, what you want. But I think the process of them actually pelletizing hops has come a long way. That process used to eliminate a lot of the oils and the resins in that hop that provided a lot of the flavor and aroma. But they've come a long way in that, and pellets are great nowadays. They're more stable of a product, so they don't take oxidation as quickly, and they don't stale, for lack of a better word, I guess, would as quickly as whole leaf. And they are used very widely in commercial brewing as well as home brewing. That's currently, besides some of the other, besides the lupulin extract hops, that we strictly sell pellets because we've really found that there's not a huge market for people wanting whole leaf hops. Now I've used both, and I've had fine experiences with both. One thing I have noticed when using whole leaf, they're a little bit more cumbersome to deal with. They're just bulkier. There's
Right.
more physical plant matter that you have to kind of work around and deal with. When you're dry hopping, well, I guess even in the boil, they tend to soak up and absorb and hold more wort. So you'll lose a little bit of your yield sometimes. One of the upsides to whole leaf is, and a lot of people will use them really only for dry hopping, and you can remove them from the beer a little bit easier than pellets. Pellets typically kind of dissolve and powderize and kind of just are harder to collect afterwards. So that may be, a good point if you're looking to use some whole leaf dry hop, and you can kind of filter them out a little bit easier.
That's what I was about to ask is what does your equipment like more? Because for me, again, it's not just a shtick. I'm a man of convenience. I know they cost more for whole leaf.
Yeah, typically I think they're a little bit more.
But you're saying it's not necessarily worth it.
I don't think, I mean, really, you get more efficiency with the pellets themselves. Than using whole hops. Like, so, for an example, an ounce of pellets is going to yield about 10, I think, more per IBUs per 1 ounce of whole leaf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you do get a bit more out of your hops by how much they weigh. You're going to get a little bit more efficiency out of them. So, I mean, honestly, I don't think it's going to affect your equipment all that much. And really, some people will say that you will get more of, and I think it's true, but to a lesser extent than it was 10 years ago. Again, that you'll get a little bit more of your aroma and essential oils out of using whole leaf. Again, I don't think it's got to be slight difference, if much, at this point. And then I guess on the second question, or the question about the organic, I'm not super familiar with organically grown hops, and I feel like they're somewhat hard to find. I know they're becoming more and more of a thing, and I don't know honestly if there's going to be a ton of improvement in flavor and aroma from organically grown. I will say that the probably the most beneficial thing to sourcing and using organically grown is the effects on the environment. I mean, it's just a more sustainable way to grow.
Right.
You're not introducing those chemicals for the pesticide chemicals that are used to grow hops non-organically that eliminate bugs and diseases and that kind of thing.
But
so
Joe, what about GMO lab stuff? Because I like extra GMO on my. No, I'm only slightly kidding. Like you said, the scientific progression on pellets that we've had has been pretty impressive and incredible. And sometimes I just don't ask questions. Like I do that with my food too, though, to my own downfall. Like this tastes great. Do you want to know how it was made? No, I don't. I have no desire to know what you poured on top of this when you were growing this or raising that cow. Or so college kids that I run into, you were a college kid not too long ago, and you have that nice romanticized like worldview changing moment of like, I want, save the planet, this or that. And one of them at my church was telling me about the effects of meat or something. And it was, she's a very sweet girl and this and that, but I was a smart ass because that's all I know how to be. And was just like, this is really making me hungry. Like, you want to go get a steak after this? Like, I'm a jerk. But no, but the organic, I think I do, joking aside, I do appreciate people's desire, because it's not I don't think organic is sometimes a buzzword, and that's all it can be. But but there are people with the greatest intentions who legitimately, like you said, there is noticeable difference of environmental impact and sustainability and all that. We see that not necessarily, I'm kind of digressing a little, but like one of the reasons I love hops and grains, since I mentioned them earlier, is their dedication to like sustainability. And they don't bottle, they can because it's recyclable 100%, right? I believe cans are one of the only.
And the new clippers, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but the cans clip into that you can carry the 6-pack. Those new ones that all the craft most of the craft, I should say, breweries are using are all like 99 or something percent recyclable too. So yeah, I think the industry has taken a good path towards making less of a footprint. So
Right, sustainability. I mean,
Right.
I always joke that the world's not going to end while I'm here, so I don't really care that much. But I have kids now, so I'm supposed to care.
supposed to act like you
I'm
care.
supposed to at least pretend. To wrap up Olivia's question, let's just recap it. You firmly believe that the differences in regards to aroma and end product will not be noticeable enough to necessarily justify seeking out the whole leaf. And I say that too because a lot of your mom and pop shops that are maybe local to them or to us are not carrying whole leaf because of the short shelf life, and they're not in super demand, right?
And they're harder to find. So it's like, I don't know if I would be able to source like whole leaf Azaka, for example. So there's some availability issues, shelf life, like you said, they aren't quite as stable as pellets. And then back to the flavor and aroma, I do think there may be a noticeable difference, especially if you have a superior palate. But I think with the improvements of how they're pelletizing hops nowadays, they have really been able to retain a lot of the essential resins and oils that generate those flavors and aromas, to where if there is a difference that you're going to get from the use of either or, it's minuscule, it's slight in comparison to, like, again, 10 years ago, there would be more of a difference, I think.
Right. Yeah. So that wraps it up. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Yeah.
This is also a great reminder, as I try to do often, submitting a question, and if we take it on air, you're getting a $25 gift card to the episode sponsor, which today was Cat Connection. Hey, that's where I insert the applause there. Thank you so much, Mr. Burns, for letting me spend your money on people. Joe, my friend, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for doing this last minute. I cannot appreciate you enough, and I'm going to reward you with some beer Frank gave me for you.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to try some of that. So yeah, we'll look forward to it. And thanks again for having me on. Appreciate you and everything you do for this company, Josh.
Yeah. I'll catch you later. That will do it for this week's episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page. Now you can call or text in your questions by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, ketconnection.com, for supporting our podcast and the home brewing community. Go to ketconnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll get 5% off your order. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.